This is Eddie Bloomer, Des Moines Catholic Worker.
Hello, folks.
Who am I?
This is Frank Cordaro, Des Moines Catholic Worker.
Hello, folks. Eddie and I are part of a new campaign in the region. It's taking place in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's called the Kansas City Peace Planters campaign to stop the building of a new nuclear weapons parts plant in Kansas City.
And these parts are armaments for other areas of the country where they will be used, like triggers, I guess, stock parts. You know, they're non-nuclear, but it's a nuclear plant specifically built so that they can use this on this new armament coming out, these new weapons mass destruction. And the old plant is 32 years old, and it's so contaminated, there's just dozens and dozens of people that have died because of cancer and cancer-related illnesses. And that's about the longevity of these places. They last 40, 50 years, and then they have to move on because it's so contaminated, and the area which they use now is even has a daycare center on it, I guess, where they employ children to be, and so that's really awful.
What most people don't realize is that since 1949, the Honeywell company has been running this nuclear weapons parts plant in Kansas City at the Bannister Federal Building Complex. This is a giant complex in southern part of Kansas City, 5 million square feet, and the Honeywell folks were using 3 million square feet of it since 1949. And 85% of all of the non-nuclear components of nuclear weapons are made at this plant. Now, they've been churning out these things for years. At the peak of the Cold War, they had over 8,500 people employed at this place. They're now down to 2,500. And it's right. It's a hot spot. Over the years, there's no way to build a clean nuclear weapon, a green nuclear weapon, as the government would like us to believe. Only now they're beginning to connect the dots with the people who work there, not only worked at the plant, but the people who work for the government in the other parts of this site, including the daycare center, where people who've been there long term are beginning to come down with a disproportionate number of cancers and are dying early. Now, this is a hot plant, as we would say, and they were going to close it because the plant itself was just getting too toxic. So the city of Kansas City, to make an effort to keep the jobs and the immoral activity that goes on there and the killing activity goes on there, convinced the government that they would put up the initial money to build this place. So there are like 8 nuclear weapons facilities around the country that make components or research for nuclear weapons. This will be the only one that's privately owned by a municipality, Kansas City. They just put out the bonds to do this. Can you imagine? And they've got buyers who invested in these bonds, and they don't have to tell us who they are. So we even know who's making the money. And the people in Kansas City had to give up some of their hard-earned tax dollars, some of it designated for blighted areas, for poverty issues, to build this plant. And now you imagine, Kansas City, a city where they're closing schools, where they've got budget shorts all over like everyone else, and they're sacrificing money that can go directly for the needs of their poorest of the poor to make this nuclear weapons plant. The government's calling it the modernization of our existing nuclear weapons facilities. Well, the modernization doesn't leave it equal. What they're doing is they're tinkering and improving existing weapon systems to make them better. Now, Americans have to understand the difference between a quantitative reduction and a qualitative reduction. Quantitatively, Yeah, we're losing more and more nuclear weapons. We have since the fall of the Soviet Union. But what's that mean? From 50,000 nuclear warheads to 20,000 nuclear warheads. It means absolutely nothing qualitatively. Because we all know that unlimited exchange of nuclear weapons, several hundred, would set the whole planet on a nuclear winter and destroy all life. So the truth of the matter is there's a qualitative improvement going on with this modernization of existing nuclear weapons, and the folks at Livermore have been fostering these modernization proposals, which are really qualitative improvements on existing nuclear weapon systems. And that's what this plant is all about, to continue making and improving on the existing number of nuclear weapons. And we have around 15,000, 10,000, I don't know. Cut it in half. That's a quantitative reduction. Means nothing to the qualitative improvements that are leading and pushing the arms race more and more to the brink.
It's getting a lot of support, grassroots support, that people are beginning to realize, well, hell, where's the money at? Where's it going? What's it used for? And so they're concerned about this. When half the schools are closed, the social services are demised, and just one thing after another, transportation, buses, everything. It's really been quite a toll on that city.
For the last couple of years, folks in Kansas City have been putting up a fight, trying to educate people, going to the city councils and the community meetings, trying to make their case. And despite a lot of good evidence that this is a bad idea, the city has been bought on the whole idea of keeping those 2,500 jobs. They're selling their souls for these 2,500 jobs.
Yes.
And once they approved the bond system, the local organizers decided to incorporate direct action and civil disobedience as part of the campaign. And that's when us Catholic workers got involved in it. And actually, that's when the local Catholic workers, Holy Family and Sheriff Brook Catholic worker communities. So we put the word out in our networks. And in June, we had 4 people get arrested, 2 of us Catholic workers, myself and Steve Jacobs. And then in August, Eddie came on down and joined, and we went on to the site, and we actually stopped these earth-moving machines for close to an hour, 2 hours, trying to stop the what they're doing, the preparing the land. They just destroyed crops to put nuclear weapons down, nuclear weapons plant down. So that's when we took on the name, the Kansas City Peace Planters. And then just last week, Eddie and I went down there, and 8 of us tried to put ourselves between the buses that were bringing the VIPs, the elected officials, the big corporate moneymakers who are there for a groundbreaking ceremony. And we had 70 folks there to try to raise an alternative voice. And now the campaign is going to focus on our trials. There's going to be a trial coming up here in October 7th, and we're asking folks to come on down for the support the 14 of us. Eddie and I are part of that.
Right.
And then we're going to have a march on City Hall and a direct action, because this is the only place in the country where a nuclear weapons plant is going to be owned by a municipality. This is just absurd. It's the time bomb is that old plant is dirty. Now, the government says they're going to clean it up, and you know how government talks about these things. The other time bomb is more and more former employees of this site who are working on the nuclear weapons plant and who are working in other government offices right next door are coming down with a disproportionate amount of cancers and are dying early. We've got to start calling Obama to match his actions with his words. You cannot talk about getting rid of nuclear weapons in our lifetime and then start building totally new weapons facilities for new and improved nuclear weapons. It just can't be done.